situation that we faced. 2003 could have just been an aberration, and I really felt that this election would determine whether or not the recall was a turning point or the aberration. And so what I looked at was three measurements that I was going to focus on as chairman of the party. The first one was voter registration. Many of you correctly were writing stories about the growing gap in registration between Republicans and Democrats, the changing demographics in this state, and we really decided to address that head on. And we engaged in a very aggressive voter registration program, and we've now been able to narrow the registration gap to the narrowest it's been since the Depression. Second was money. In 2002, the party and our candidate raised about $20 million. The increase this year will not be a matter of percentage, it will be a change in the order of magnitude. And third was people. We were losing our best people to other parts of the country. They're becoming chiefs of staff for the governor in Florida, or going to Washington, D.C., or working for Governor Pataki. And I felt we needed to change that around. And on that level, I think we've been equally as successful, if not exceeding my expectation. Steve Schmidt is the best political operative in the United States on the Republican side today. Matthew Dowd's probably the best political strategist. So we're not only preventing our people from leaving, we are now a magnet drawing the best people. So the goal is to keep developing that momentum. We have over 50,000 volunteers signed up. We're going to be spending about $20 million or more on Get Out the Vote.
This campaign is about two Californians, Arnold Schwarzenegger's vision of California and the reality in California. Not unlike the Bush presidency. There's a Bush reality and there's a real reality. No matter what poll you look at, California, according to voters, likely voters, is not going in the right direction. And there is a reason for that. Because under the Schwarzenegger vision, if you're an HMO, you're a drug company, if you're a very wealthy business person, you're going to do well and the world is wonderful for you. If you're a family that's earning $46,000 a year and you're not getting the same tax cuts, it's difficult for you to have access to health care, and your kids' tuition has gone up almost 20 to 30 to 40%, and I'm talking about community college attendance, there is a different California. There's no question that both political parties are suffering from voter registration. The Climate State is the largest, fastest growing party in California. Are you going to trust those people who have had experience and commitment to the middle class values of California? Or are you going to trust a candidate who evolves from day to day, from movie to movie, from set to set, from press opportunity to press opportunity? And that's really the issue before us. $600 billion to fix our prisons, yet we still don't have a contract with the correctional officers to make them feel whole. So we are in a very difficult race. You know the numbers as well as I do. I've been on losing campaigns, I've been on winning campaigns. I believe this is going to be a winning campaign. I believe at the end of the day, Democrats will come home to Phil Angelides and the Democratic Party. I believe our statewide ticket office holders are going to provide the resources and the commitment to make it happen. And at the end of the day, we're going to see a very close race, and I believe that we're going to see a Phil Angelides as governor of the state of California.
Is taxes. And Art mentioned the small tax credit that Angelides is for, which when you compare that with the up to $18 billion in tax increases that he has supported. I was talking about this dichotomy the other day, and somebody said, well, Duff, you have to understand, first he was for taxes before he was against them. So that's a familiar theme that I think is in the tax front. I also think that his waffling on issues like Jessica's Law, his waffling on issues like universal health care, those are going to hurt Phil as well.
Contest. He made the difference. Of 118,000 votes, he made the difference. He is responsible for George Bush being in the White House. Solely responsible, in my opinion. So I think the analogy is very clear and very realistic. You may laugh, but look at the Bush, Cheney, Schwarzenegger operation. When you look at Matthew Dowd, he came from the Bush, Cheney White House. So I'm not worried about Arnold Schwarzenegger because I don't really think he knows what's going on around him. I believe that he's being advised by people who are misleading him in certain directions. So I fear more the people that are around him, not you. I trust you, Duff. I'm worried about the people that are going to be in that smoking tent if he gets reelected, and then all of a sudden all these wonderful promises that we hear are no longer the case, as was the case after the recall. What people thought they were voting for was a different Arnold Schwarzenegger that they got on election day when he became a right-wing nut on many of these issues.
What is being manipulated or managed by the Bush folks, then how is he trying to be like a Democrat, and why is he signing all this Democratic-sponsored legislation?
Because they told them that's the best strategy to take. These guys out of DC really don't care about political affiliation. They care about winning elections, and they're going to do whatever it takes to win an election. And if that means creating compromises they never dreamed of creating, I don't think these guys, before they came to California, ever dreamed they'd be at a signing ceremony to increase the minimum wage. I don't think these guys ever dreamed they'd be at a ceremony with all their oil company friends signing gas emissions standards. So I think they're doing whatever they can to win an election. And that's what I'm worried about, because we've seen the different incarnations of this governor. The recall, the pre-recall incarnation of Jay Leno, the recall campaign incarnation, the governor incarnation, and now we have a new incarnation. But at the bottom line, there's a common thread that weaves throughout those incarnations, and that is, who are you going to trust?
Well, I think you hit one of the core inconsistencies of all this. Well, is it some sort of plot, or, you know, are they, now they're mercenaries or whatever it is? I mean, this is, you know, I spent a lot of time with the governor. There's no question who runs that office, and it's the governor. Second of all, I think that with respect to the issues, I think it's really incorrect, and I know many of you have written about this many times. This governor was in favor of a greenhouse gas legislation from the beginning. Last year, in his message, veto message regarding minimum wage, he indicated he would support an increase in the minimum wage. His only problem with it was the indexing. So if you go back and look at the things that he signed this year, those are issues that he has been consistent on since before he ran. His issues with respect to gay rights, that's something that he articulated when he ran in the recall. So there is consistency there, and I think to try and do otherwise is just political year machinations, because, again, they want to talk about something else other than the fact that their guy wants to raise taxes.
Edie Lambert, KCRA, which was the governor appearing on stage with some of the state's most prominent Democrats. But it's not only the image of that. Do you worry about the co-opting of certain issues, minimum wage, environmental issues, and that the issues themselves have now been, in a certain sense, neutralized for Phil Angelides, the things that he cannot distinguish himself on?
Well, neutralizing an issue means that it's been compromised to the point of whether it's going to be effective or not. The minimum wage obviously stands alone. The gas emissions and the supposed treaty between Arnold and Tony Blair on emissions remains to be seen whether that was even valid, or whether a governor can get into a treaty with a foreign head of state. But the fact of the matter still remains that as we look at the panoply of issues that are out there, there are so many issues that have not been compromised, and that is tuition hikes, affordable and accessible health care, access to worker compensation benefits, which he just vetoed yesterday.
That they're focusing on how many debates and whether they're standing or sitting. I mean, I think kind of shows, you know, small ball, and we're thinking.
I got big balls. What are you talking about?
I think it's a different show.
I don't know how they can.
This is being recorded.
But I think that what I think is most interesting in what you talk about, the answer to your question is yes. I think it's very helpful, and it shows that we're moving forward. Long term, I think that, you know, we as a party have a real commitment to environmental issues. I think that's something that has been a Democratic issue in this state, and that somebody of Schwarzenegger's reputation and ability to get that message out is going to bear fruit for us, not only in California, but in the country long term. With respect to the tuition hikes, I don't know, Art, I mean, you're so knowledgeable on so many things. This governor has held the line on the tuition this year, and also that workers' comp legislation. If there's one thing that really hurt this state, it was the increases in workers' comp. And what really one of the major reasons that this economy has been able to turn around is the $11 billion in cuts that have been brought about by the workers' comp reform that this governor has instituted, which has had a major change on the employers of the state of California and their willingness and ability to hire more workers.